Yes. Uh, okay. Yes. In general, we know that backup is a process of what? Just taking the database into a separate file. Okay. So that even like tomorrow database crash or there is a server related issue. Okay. We'll get back the data from backups. Right? Yes. Yes. Just remember like yeah. So like in the yeah. So that's why we have to understand while taking backup, remember while working with the databases, users are working, applications are working. So suddenly if disk failure scenarios are there, okay, database corruption scenarios are there, then remember data loss may happen. That data loss we can avoid here with the help of backups, right? That's why it may be standalone environment or it may be cluster environment. Backups are compulsory for us. Scheduling here, backups are compulsory. So to provide security for data. Okay, so that's why backup restore comes under what? One of a DR, disaster recovery mechanism. Why? Because tomorrow some disaster happen, like disk failure, server crash, some earthquake happen, some some building collapse. Anything happens here, like backups are compulsory for us, right? So that's why remember, like in general, manually we can take backup, but in real times here we are scheduling the backups so that automatically backups are generated. Tomorrow there should be no problem. So while working with the data, so we can recover the data successfully. Yes. So that is like backups are there. So, check in. Basically, various definitions are there. Uh, we have seen previously in module 2 we have discussed about checkpoints. We have seen that checkpoint will write what? Checkpoint will write the changes, dirty pages to disk, right? From buffer cache, whatever the modified pages are there, dirty pages are there, those things are written into data file periodically by which process? Checkpoint process. Checkpoint process here. That's why, and see, like checkpoint occurs automatically here, like once the transaction is done, automatically checkpoint will run. Okay, automatically here checkpoint will run. Right. So we can force the checkpoints also here. Manually also we can force checkpoint. We have no checkpoint command is there. By using checkpoint command, we can force the checkpoints also manually. Manually. First, we'll discuss about checkpoints here, something more detailed information. Then we'll start with database backups. Right. Yeah, in general, already we know how the transactions are working in SQL Server. Already we know, means whenever the user makes some changes, request is submitted to application server. Application server will write the changes into buffer cache. Buffer cache is writing change from buffer cache. Changes are written into log file. We have seen once the changes are written into log file successfully from buffer cache, then these changes, then user will get the acknowledgement. This we have seen already in module 3, right? How the transactions are working. User will get the acknowledgement. After some time, remember, these changes, these changes which are there in buffer cache, those changes are written into data file by checkpoint process. Greater than 2 means after 2, after writing changes into log file, at any time changes are written into data file permanently. By which process? Checkpoint process. Checkpoint process here. Right. So that's like yeah, checkpoint is there here one of a background process which writes what all the dirty pages from buffer cache into disk into what data file. It will write what dirty pages from buffer cache into data files here. Checkpoint process. Okay. Right. Right. Okay, that's like yeah. So we have seen that like when the checkpoint is happening, so different definitions are there. Sir, what is maintained in the log file we have discussed actually in module 3. Okay, what is maintained in the log file we have seen in module 3. So basically, remember like everything right except data retrieval, except select star from right except select star from everything is recorded in the log file right except select star from everything is recorded into log file right. So every manipulations everything is recorded into log file by default right. So checkpoint is it's a checkpoint is a background process which takes all the transaction details from log file and writes respective pages, right? In which page modifications are there, those respective pages, it will write from buffer pool to data file. From buffer pool to data file, it will write the respective pages. Okay, that's remember like we have seen that in short, we have seen checkpoint will write what? Checkpoint will write the dirty pages into disk. Dirty pages are nothing but what? Modified pages. It writes all dirty pages to disk. Checkpoint truncates transaction log file if the database is in simple recovery model. We have discussed right in module 3. If the database is there in simple recovery model, it will truncate the log file. If the database is there in other than simple recovery model, it cannot truncate the log file. After log backup, log file is truncated. Right? Yes. See, checkpoint occurs in the following scenarios here. Various scenarios are there here. Periodically, checkpoint will run. Automatically, checkpoint will run, which depends on the recovery interval of SQL Server. Server levels here, one property is the recovery interval. By default, recovery interval is there here 0 minutes. Means for every 0 minutes, checkpoint will run. For every 0 minutes means what whenever the transaction is done once the changes are updated so committed immediately SQL Server will force checkpoint. Take here if I take instance properties, database settings. Okay, here see recovery interval 0 minutes. Recovery interval 0 minutes here it is showing. Okay, means what for every 0 minutes here checkpoint will run. For every 0 minutes here checkpoint is running. Means immediate we have to understand once the changes are done immediately checkpoint is running here. Once the transaction is committed immediately checkpoint is running. Okay, right. Always remember in production server it should be always 0 minutes only. Don't change here. Clear, right? Whenever the transaction is done, once the changes are committed, immediately it will write the changes into data file immediately. Okay, that is like recovery interval is there. Then when the database backup is about to start here, it's what before starting database backup, first SQL Server is forcing the checkpoint. Suppose here 8 o'clock backup was started, for example. 8 p.m. here backup was started and finished at 10 p.m. Finished at 10 p.m. for example. Now remember this, SQL Server will force checkpoints here automatically at 8 o'clock. Then up to 8 o'clock only it will write changes into backup. Up to 8 only here it will write changes into backup. Why? Because it has forced checkpoint here. These 2 hour changes are written in C in the next backup. Yeah, SS means SQL Server. Okay, just okay. So that is like this is called your internal checkpoint. Internal checkpoints here. Before starting backup, internally first SQL Server is forcing checkpoint, then the backup process is started. Internal checkpoint. One question is there. Checkpoint will write always data from buffer cache rather than log file. Yes, always it will write changes from buffer cache to data file. So it will never write from log file to data file. Always from buffer cache to data file. Right. This is called your internal checkpoint. Means what? Before starting backup, first internally it is forcing checkpoint. Internally it is forcing checkpoint, then it will start backup. Okay. Yeah. One second. Right. Right. So this is like in the same way, whenever SQL Server is started here, SQL Server will go to every database. It will force checkpoint. Then the database comes online here. Whenever SQL Server is started, so it will go to every database. It will force checkpoint. Okay, right. In the same way, if the log file is 70% full and it is in log truncate modes here like simple recovery model. In simple recovery model, remember whenever log file size reaches about 70%, automatically SQL Server is forcing checkpoint in the background. So that log file should be cleared. Okay, right, right. That is like yeah. So that's like how the uh, different scenarios we have to understand when the checkpoint is working. When a new data file or log file was added to database, automatically SQL Server will force checkpoint, then the file is added. First, like whenever the SQL Server, whenever we are adding extra data file, extra log file, first it is forcing checkpoint, then the file is added. The semester manually also, we have seen this already in module 3. Manually also we can force checkpoint as a DBA by using what checkpoint command. We can go to any one database. See it? Okay. Now open the log file of the database. See here, whenever the checkpoint is executed, in the background here, 3 lines are recorded into log files here. Begin checkpoint, writing checkpoint details into boot page, end checkpoints here. By default, SQL Server will write what 3 lines into log file. The same way when we detach database here, generally we have no detach attach. Basically, to move the files of a database, we can use this option. So whenever we detach the database, it is forcing the checkpoint. So the same way said, when we change the database recovery model from full to simple or bulk log to simple, automatically it forces checkpoints here. Okay. Uh, 1 second. Okay. In the same in the same way, when database snapshot is generated, we'll see the database snapshots we can create. In mirroring, we'll discuss that. Whenever we are creating the snapshot, it is generated, it is forcing checkpoint. In the same way, when bulk operation was done in bulk log recovery model, we have three recovery models are there: full, bulk logged, and simple. For example, whenever the bulk operation was done here in bulk log recovery model also, SQL Server will force checkpoint. We'll see. These are the various scenarios are there when SQL Server is forcing checkpoints here. Various scenarios are there when SQL Server is forcing checkpoint in the background. These are like scenarios are there here when the checkpoint will run. Okay, right. Check here, like already we have seen whenever checkpoint runs in the background, how many lines are recorded. How many lines are recorded into error log? 3 lines are recorded into what? Error log in the background. Right? Whenever checkpoint runs, automatically 3 lines are recorded into what? Error log. Okay, right, right. Okay, begin. But what is happening, sir, internally, whenever the checkpoint is happening in the background, what is happening, sir? Log that a checkpoint started. We have seen it will write one line. What is the line? Begin checkpoint, right? Begin CKPT. Begin CKPT. Okay, then we have seen second line we have discussed that first line is what? Begin CKPT. Then second line we have seen 1 second. Yes, first line we have seen begin CKPT. Then second line we have seen like it is writing the checkpoint details into what? Boot page. Before writing checkpoint details into boot page, it will write the dirty pages to disk. See here, log that checkpoint started, log some checkpoint information if necessary. Generally say like in case of in case of remember like in case of uncommitted, if any uncommitted transactions are there, that uncommitted transaction details also it will write actually. Okay, then writes all dirty pages for a database to disk here. All dirty pages. Okay, so yeah, so then after that say like uh, after that say like in that next say like writing the LSN number of checkpoint in boot page, right? So up to which LSN number uh, yeah, up to which LSN number checkpoint was executed, it will write into a boot page. Then if the database is there in simple recovery model, it will truncate the log file. Okay, so uh, mm, yeah, if the database is there in simple recovery model, it will truncate the log file, log that a checkpoint end. This is here what is happening in the background whenever the checkpoint is executed. We have seen manually we can force checkpoint as a DBA. If I open this log files here after forcing checkpoint, at the last here we have three lines are there. Begin checkpoint, writing this checkpoint LSN number into boot page. Boot page already we have seen in module 3. Okay. 1 second. Yeah, so then end checkpoints here, end checkpoint. Okay, right, right. So this is like yeah, what is happening here in the background whenever this checkpoint is happening. Okay, in SQL Server. Then some points are there here related to checkpoint. First, we'll see these points here. Very very important point. When a data file check it when a data file page is written to disk by a checkpoint. Already we know. Uh, okay, so yeah, like when a data file say like yeah, whenever checkpoint runs already we know like dirty pages are written to disk, right? For example, here this is the dirty page. Okay, so in this dirty page, we have yeah, two modifications are there. For example, this dirty page is written to data file by which process, checkpoint process. But before writing this dirty page to data file, first SQL Server will verify whether these changes are recorded into log file or not, whether these changes are recorded into transaction log file or not. So means what, before writing the page to disk. Okay, so whatever the changes are there in the page, see here, very very important. Whatever the changes are made in the page are written into log file or not, it will check. Okay, already written. Then write the page to data file. This is here. Normally we know already. First changes are written in the buffer cache, then into log file. After that, user will get the acknowledgement, right? In general, they are written actually, but it is cross-checking one time. Before writing this page, okay, so yeah, yeah. Before writing this page here into data file, first here it is checking whether this page is written into these changes are written into log file or not written. Then write the page into data file. This algorithm is called here wall, write ahead logging. Write ahead loggings here algorithm. Okay, write ahead loggings here. Wall means what? Write ahead logging means what? Before writing this page to data file, same changes must be logged into log file. Clear, right? Same changes should be written into what? Same changes should be logged into log file. Okay. Yes, yes. That is like we have to understand what is the meaning of wall. That's why in the interview they will ask what is wall. or they will ask what is the algorithm used by checkpoint process. Okay, checkpoint process is using one internal algorithm, that is what wall. Yeah, right. Yes. So that is like checkpoint process is writing the algorithm into what wall actually, right ahead logging. Okay. Yeah. Right. Uh, mm, yeah. So understood, right? All people, what is meant by wall. Before writing this page to disk, SQL Server checkpoint process will verify whatever the changes are there in the page. Those changes are written into log file or not written, then write the page into data file, which is called your wall concept, right ahead logging concept. Okay, right, right. Mhm. Then this first point is that we'll talk about that later. Okay, this first point. But wall is important for us. What is right ahead logging? Already we know whenever checkpoint runs, first it will write one line, begin checkpoint, then something. Means if any uncommitted transactions are there in the page, it will write one extra line here, then writing information into boot page yet checkpoint. Okay. Yes. Uh, yeah. So that's like uh, yeah. So what is happening here? Like checkpoint, what is happening in the backgrounds here. Okay, right. Check here, like we can see when the latest checkpoint was executed here by using this simple script is there, how much time it has taken. Also, we can see. Check here, latest checkpoint was executed at this time 2021. Yeah, it just now here at 7:45. See, to force this checkpoint to write the yeah pending changes, it has taken 3 milliseconds here. Okay, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds here. Yes, yes. So that is like yeah, we can see here checkpoint. We can check the information about. Same thing, we are fetching the information from where? From the log file, transaction log file. Okay. That is it. Like four types of checkpoint processes are there in SQL Server. One is automatic checkpoint. Already we have discussed. Automatically SQL Server will force checkpoint once the transaction is committed within 0 minutes. We have seen server level recovery interval is there. Server level one property is there's a recovery interval. So yeah, depends on server level property recovery interval. SQL Server is forcing checkpoint automatically. Second one, sir, indirect checkpoints are there. Indirect checkpoints are there. Indirect checkpoints are introduced first time in 2012 version, 2012 versions here. Actually, remember, like up to 2008 or 2, only we can set checkpoint timing at instance level. Now, remember, from 2012 onwards, we can set the checkpoint timing at DB level also. Check here. We can set here properties, database settings. See, recovery interval 0 minutes. Checkpoint timing we can set at server level. But from 2012 onwards, remember, we can set the checkpoint timing at DB level also. See here, options. Here we can see target recovery time in seconds. Here, same is there by default 60 seconds. Target recovery time is there 60 seconds. Same is there. Okay, Right. That is like we can see here like target recovery time. We can check here. Okay. We can change also database level checkpoint timing. We can change. If I set here, see target recovery interval 10 seconds. For every 10 seconds, SQL Server will force checkpoints here. Means what? For every 10 seconds, it will write the changes of this database into data file for every 10 seconds. Okay. Suppose if unexpectedly server was restarted, for example, so we have pending changes only up to how much time? Like maybe 8 seconds, 9 seconds pending changes will be there, right? For example, that's why whenever server is restarted, immediately those changes are written into data file. Database comes online very fastly. Okay. Yeah, that is called a recovery time, recovery interval. Means what? Like in how much time the database can be recovered, the database can be online. Let's see, indirect checkpoints are there. Just remember, don't confuse. Indirect checkpoint is nothing but what? We can define the checkpoint timing at DB level also. Right. Third one is manual checkpoint. Already we know manually we can force checkpoint by using which command? Checkpoint command. Next one is internal checkpoints are there. Already we have seen before starting backup. Okay, before adding extra data file, before adding extra log file. In all these scenarios, first SQL Server will force checkpoint, then backup is started. For example, those are called internal checkpoints. Okay, yes. These are different types of checkpoint processes are there as part of SQL Server. Default one is automatic checkpoints. Automatic checkpoints here by default. Okay, right. Okay, and we have seen already practically in module 2, I have shown you. So by forcing checkpoint, checkpoint will make all the dirty pages as what? Clean pages, right? If I go to FAQs and scripts, SQL Server checkpoints demo. Okay, okay. Uh, Go to any one database. First here I'm creating one table already books. Some another database. Okay, table is ready, empty table is ready. I'm inserting one record. Okay, now remember any changes, right? Any changes will make the pages dirty page. Now I'm checking here how many dirty pages are there, how many clean pages are there of this current database. Check here, 549 clean pages are there, 28 dirty pages are there. 549 clean pages, 28 dirty pages. Okay, now remember once we force checkpoint or once the automatic checkpoint runs. Okay, after that we have seen we don't have dirty pages, all are clean pages only. See, maybe some background processes are running on this database, Northwind database, like replication something that is making changes. That's why it is showing some dirty pages. Otherwise, we have only clean pages only. Okay, some feature is configured on this. Continuously, it is making changes. Okay, right. So right. That's like yeah, checkpoint process. We have seen, for example, is school DB inserting the record. Okay, yeah, 20 dirty pages, 252. Okay, once force checkpoint. Now here only clean pages here. 252 plus 20. once again, we have seen if I make some changes again, it will make one page as dirty. Here, out of 271, again checkpoint. Yeah, 270. Like just say like we can see here like how the checkpoint is working in the background. Is writing what 30 pages to disk. Right. Okay. We'll conclude the session here. We'll continue tomorrow. Some confusion may be there. Please go through one time recording. Just we have discussed about checkpoint types, how we can monitor checkpoint, whenever checkpoint is happening in the background, what is recorded into transaction log file. And we have discussed that checkpoint process internally uses one algorithm called WAL, right? Write ahead logging. Internal algorithm is a WAL, write ahead logging. Okay. Yes, yes. After that, say like we'll go with yeah, we'll go with yeah, data recovery models. We'll discuss one time full, bulk, log, and simple. Previously, also we have seen one more time. We'll discuss. After that, we'll go with database backups. In tomorrow's class, we'll start with the database backups. Okay, right.